Have they named anybody to take over the play-by-play duties for Mike Goldberg?
Well, for now it's going to be John Anik, and I think it's crazy to look for anyone else, to be honest. I think he's by far the most talented guy out there, the most deserving guy out there. I mean, he's been putting in the work for the last 5 years, and I wish that they would have come out and given him, some kind of show of support and say, like, this is our guy. This was the guy that we brought in to take over for Mike whenever that time came. That time has come. And, let's get behind him. But that didn't really happen. And so now everyone's kind of waiting and speculating and trying to see. I think that was kind of clumsy. It was clumsy the way they said goodbye to Goldberg. And I think this kind of transitional period is a little clumsy as well. But I think, hopefully fans will get behind John because he is a tireless worker. I mean, he really takes a lot of pride, does an incredible amount of research. As far as MMA broadcasting is concerned, I'd say he's the best right now. So I'd like to see them get behind him, and I think he's, in my opinion, the man for the job. I don't think they have to look for anyone else. I don't want to see them bring in a guy who knows nothing about MMA, and we have to watch him kind of learn on the job. If there's a tremendous broadcaster out there who, I don't know, is some sort of MMA connoisseur, great. But this is a tough sport to call. It's not a bat and ball sport. I mean, you really have to know your stuff, and I think John has put in that work.
Yeah, John's awesome. He was on here a while back. We shared the same agent in Gideon with Gideon Cohen with If Management, but I just think if Joe Rogan leaves, man, I think it's going to be a huge blow to the whole sport.
Huh?
What do you think?
I don't think so. I think Joe is great. Why do you laugh?
Because you said, huh? Because I could sense some like
Yeah.
like you're saying, oh what? I'm a Joe Rogan fanboy for
sure.
Everybody knows that, but I just think the way that he articulates what's happening inside the octagon, I don't know other guys that can do it to that level. I love Brian Stan as well. He does a great job. They have a bunch of fighters that are starting to jump in on different shows and be that color analyst. But Joe, he has a way of his crazy excitement for the sport and the technicality that he can describe it. It's second to none. I don't see anybody that compares.
I will say this, sitting here today right now, February 1st, 2017, he is the greatest MMA color analyst of all time, bar none. That being said, I don't think the sport will go down the toilet if he leaves.
No, I'm not saying that, but I think, personally, I would
fair.
be.
No, by the way, the majority of MMA fans agree with you. I mean, just look at the way they reacted to Goldie leaving. And it's because people like familiar voices. They have been the soundtrack of the UFC for over a decade. I mean, that's very important as well. But I will say this, Stan is phenomenal. And you know what I love about Stan? He does a hell of a lot of research. One thing that I really respect about Stan is that, he will go and talk to every single fighter and their coaches on the card. So if you notice, throughout the broadcast, he's saying things like, I spoke to so-and-so. He told me this. He changed camps. Technically, Rogan is incredible. But he'll be the first to tell you he doesn't do that. And I think that that's an important thing for a broadcaster. I think that, you see this in other sports. The broadcasters meet with the coaching staff. They'll meet with key players. They'll give you a little more than, just what you're seeing on television. And as a viewer, I love that. So maybe the answer is Anik, Rogan, and Stan, because I do think that that's something that's very important to the broadcast, especially if you're, trying to get new viewers. Oh, here comes Eric Perez, he just switched camps. I spoke to his coach. They've been working on this. This is all very important stuff. I think that this helps put the sport in the best light. It helps get you emotionally invested in these athletes, etc. So, from a technical standpoint, from a personality standpoint, from an energy standpoint, second to none. I mean, he is phenomenal. He's a Hall of Famer. He's incredible. But I do like the research, and I don't mind hearing other voices. I think they have something great with Stan. I think they have something great with Cruz. I think they have something great with Daniel Cormier. They're actually going to be testing out a 3-man booth for UFC 208. So it's going to be Anik, Rogan, and Cormier, which I think is going to be a lot of fun because I think Cormier is best in that 3rd-man role as opposed to the 2-man role. They're trying out some things, and I think that's great. That's part of the evolution of the sport. For a long time, they were kind of stuck to one certain way with the same music, same look, same voices, and I think it's important to evolve.
Yeah, that's a valid point. They have so many shows now, they're going to have a rotating group of people to do it. And that's what they're doing now. Maybe I haven't watched enough of Brian Stan, but I understand that he does. He's his military background, everything. He was on here a long time ago, actually. I mean, probably one of the most highly respected Americans ever. And I know you're a Canadian, right? Montreal?
Yeah, that's right. But yes, I agree with what you just said about Brian Stann.
Yeah, I think Dominic Cruz is the, for my, I mean, I'm more than a casual fan, I guess, but Dominic Cruz brings a lot to how when he's on the desk with the guys, like with Jay Glazer's there, when he's on the desk, he's just really, really good at describing and that's not easy to do. Anybody can sit on their couch and claim that they can do it, but when you're there and the lights are on, the camera's going, to actually be able to get your thoughts out clearly like he does, man, I think he should definitely have a huge future when it comes to broadcasting.
Technically, he actually might be one of the best. And by the way, I think Kenny Florian is great as well. They've actually done a really nice job of developing broadcasters. Even back in the day, they had Randy Couture, who I thought was really good. Rogan, of course. I don't know what the secret is. I don't know how they did it, but, it's rare to see active athletes be that good at broadcasting. And I know it's different from, say, the NFL or the NBA because they're only fighting 2-3 times a year. But still, to be able to kind of switch from, being athlete to being broadcaster is a tough thing to do. And they've done a nice job. I mean, they have a nice little pool. I think the key now is to get a second play-by-play guy because they had Goldie and Anik. They're trying out a guy named Todd Grisham who used to work for ESPN. Prior to that, worked for WWE. I think he's going to be very good as well. And we'll see. I think it might be met with some resistance because, again, MMA fans are creatures of habit. But I do think they're moving, as far as broadcasting is concerned, in the right direction.
To pivot quickly, what has to happen? What's the biggest hurdle for this Conor McGregor-Floyd Mayweather fight to actually take place?
Oh man, there isn't one. There really isn't. There are so many hurdles. It is amazing. I mean, they are going to try. There's no doubt about it. And I think everyone involved would like for it to happen. I think that if we had to pick one, it'd probably be the UFC. I think that, if Conor was a free agent, Floyd is his own man, I actually think that they could get it done in relatively short order, believe it or not. I think now getting the UFC to play ball, because obviously Conor is under contract with them, so he has to legally, that might be the trickiest one. Dana White said this past weekend that he has a better chance of backing up Brady this weekend than that fight happening, which I think is, I don't think that that's accurate as well, and maybe a little gamesmanship on his part. But yeah, if there was to be one, if I had to pick one gun to my head, I'd probably say it's the UFC.
I think Dana made a great point when he said Dana put it out there. It's crazy. At 25 mil a piece, and then they'll talk about the pay-per-view points on the back end. But he said Floyd's last pay-per-view got 300,000 buys, and Conor had like 1.3, 1.5 million buys on his last couple fights. I thought that was a great point he brought up, saying, because I think Floyd's been saying, I need 100 mil or whatever off the top, and I get a lot bigger percentage. But it's true, I guess, with the buys. And Floyd's a gigantic draw, but that seems to be like that would break all the records forever.
Well, some fans get mad at me when I'm saying, like, wait a second. Like, there are people who say it is without a doubt Floyd is the ace side. Floyd is the biggest star, all this stuff. And I'm like, are you sure about that? I don't know. I mean, I just came from like an interview where 5,000 people bought tickets to watch the man speak. I'm not so sure that worldwide Floyd is that much more popular than Conor McGregor right now. And people say, well, look how much more he makes. Well, he makes that much more because he's his own promoter, because, all the money is going to him. Conor is, contracted by the UFC, and the split there is not exactly in his favor. So yeah, I agree with you. I mean, Conor versus Mr. X right now, as hot as he is, I feel like is guaranteed 1 million pay-per-view buys. And I don't know if I could say the same about Floyd Mayweather. I mean, the right kind of fight, the right kind of opponent, Floyd versus Triple G, even Floyd versus Manny too, even though there's, I think there's no point in making that fight, but even that would get over 1 million. No doubt about it. He's still a very big name in the sports world and the highest paid athlete. But, I would at least argue, and I think it is debatable, who the biggest star is right now. No doubt about that.
Yeah, I think Conor, he's crossed over into mainstream like nothing we've ever seen before as it comes to MMA. And I don't even think there is really casual fans when it comes to the UFC and MMA and Bellator, all the other leagues. It's almost like you're all or nothing, I feel like. And I've loved the UFC and all of MMA for, 5-7 years now. And over the last couple of years, I've paid a lot more attention. But it seems like either the people I talk to love it and watch the majority of the fights, or they literally are completely ignorant to anything going on when it comes to MMA, and they've heard of Conor, like, oh yeah, that Irish guy, I know who he is.